This means she wants you badly, but is fighting her feelings, psychology tricks. The heart has reasons that reason will never understand. Blaise Pascal. There's a kind of woman most men misunderstand completely. She isn't distant because she doesn't care. She isn't sharp or guarded because you did something wrong. And she certainly isn't confused about how she feels. In fact, the truth is far more uncomfortable. She feels too much, so much that it scares her. When a woman develops intense attraction for a man, especially later in life or after emotional wounds, her instinct isn't always to move closer. Sometimes it's the opposite. She pulls back. She puts on armor. She creates emotional distance not to reject you, but to protect herself. Here's what most men don't realize. Strong desire can feel dangerous to a woman who has learned that love comes with loss, disappointment, or loss of control. So instead of leaning in, she fights it. That fight shows up in confusing ways. She might act colder than expected. She may seem irritable, dismissive, or suddenly unavailable. She creates space where closeness should be, and the more she feels drawn to you, the harder she may push against it. To a man, this looks like rejection. To her, it feels like survival. This is where many men walk away, thinking they're unwanted, when in reality, they were standing too close to something emotionally powerful. And no, this isn't about manipulation or games. It's about internal conflict. She's battling the fear of losing control, of getting hurt, of wanting someone more than she planned to, especially if she values independence, has been betrayed before, or hasn't allowed herself to feel deeply in a long time. Once you understand this dynamic, everything changes. You stop overanalyzing every text. You stop taking her distance personally. You stop reacting emotionally and start seeing clearly. Because when a woman is fighting her feelings, she reveals herself in subtle ways, through tension instead of indifference, through inconsistency instead of absence, through emotional reactions that don't match the situation. And there's one behavior in particular, often mistaken as disinterest, that actually signals the opposite. Most men misread it and leave right when her defenses are weakest. Understanding this isn't about chasing her harder. It's about responding differently. When you know what's really happening beneath the surface, you gain something rare. Emotional leverage without pressure, calm confidence instead of confusion. And that's what eventually makes her stop running from what she feels and finally admit what she's been trying so hard to hide. Before that happens, though, you need to understand why these feelings scare her so deeply. And here's the uncomfortable truth. It has very little to do with you and everything to do with what she's afraid of losing in herself. Why strong feelings scare her so much. Here's the truth most men never hear, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. When a woman laughs at everything you say, then vanishes for days, when she opens her heart one minute and closes the door the next, when she looks at you like you're the only man in the room, but suddenly avoids your eyes as soon as you notice, that is not confusion, and it is definitely not indifference. Don't tell yourself you imagined it. Don't assume you misread the signs. Be calm and listen closely, because what's happening inside her is far more intense than what she shows on the surface. She feels something strong, something deep, something that shakes her sense of control, and her mind reacts the only way it knows how, by pulling back. That is female psychology at work, and it's powerful. Her brain is not labeling you as a danger to her body, but as a danger to her emotional balance, her routine, her safety. That is why she acts hot and cold. That is why closeness scares her right after she creates it. This is a classic emotional pattern rooted in psychology tricks the mind plays when desire and fear collide. There is a lesser-known psychological response often called hedonic reversal, where the very thing we want most becomes the thing we fear losing the most, and that fear flips desire into resistance. Think about it honestly. Have you ever wanted something so deeply that you hesitated to reach for it because if it slipped away later, the pain would be worse than never having it at all? That is exactly where she is. The stronger her feelings grow, the louder her inner alarms ring. Be clear about this. She is not pushing you away because she feels nothing. She is pulling back because she feels too much. Her subconscious is running a protection script. Don't get too close. Don't hope too much. Don't let him matter this much. Stay safe. Stay composed. Stay in control. You must understand that when intense attraction develops quickly, especially for someone who values emotional security, the mind often tries to slow things down by creating distance. This isn't a strategy she carefully planned. It's automatic. It's instinctive. It's human. And the irony is brutal because the more she tries to act unaffected, the more her emotions build pressure beneath the surface. Feelings don't vanish when ignored. They compound. They wait. They leak out in glances, in silence, in sudden warmth followed by withdrawal. This is why one day she shares personal stories that feel intimate and rare, and the next day treats you like just another name in her phone. Don't confront her about it emotionally. Don't chase reassurance. Be steady. Be grounded. Be the calm center she doesn't yet know she needs. That is how to fall in love. Dynamics truly work when fear is mixed with desire. Men who panic here lose everything. Men who understand psychology tricks win quietly. You see, female psychology is not about games. It's about safety. When her heart senses that something could change her life, her mind wants proof that it won't destroy her. She needs to feel that attraction doesn't equal chaos, that closeness doesn't mean loss of self, that liking you doesn't put her at risk of regret. That is why consistency matters more than intensity. That is why patience outperforms pressure. That is why your ability to remain composed while she wavers speaks louder than any words. Be present, but don't push. Be interested, but don't demand. Let her feelings breathe instead of cornering them. When you do this, something remarkable happens. Her nervous system relaxes. Her resistance softens. The internal battle quiets down, and those feelings she tried so hard to suppress begin to feel less frightening and more exciting. This is how to fall in love without force, without persuasion, without manipulation. Ironically, by not trying to convince her, you give her the space to convince herself. Remember this: attraction mixed with fear creates confusion, but attraction paired with emotional safety creates clarity. Don't rush the process. Don't label her behavior too quickly. Be the man who understands that silence can be loud, distance can be protective, and hesitation can be a sign of depth, not disinterest. These psychology tricks are not about controlling her, but about understanding her. Female psychology responds to calm strength, not urgency. When she senses that liking you doesn't mean losing control, she stops fighting herself. And when that happens, the same feelings that once scared her become the reason she finally steps closer, willingly, confidently, and with her heart fully open. Sign 1. Inconsistent attention. The signs always begin quietly, almost politely, like tiny cracks forming in what looks like solid emotional armor. You catch brief glimpses when her guard slips, just long enough for you to sense the truth underneath. So if she is actively fighting her feelings, what exactly should you be looking for? Start here. Inconsistent attention. Not chaos, not randomness. A pattern. Always a pattern. One day she sends long paragraphs that feel thoughtful and warm, laughs at jokes that weren't even that funny, asks about your day in a way that shows she actually cares. The next day, silence. One-word replies, suddenly busy with everything except you. Don't rush to label this as disinterest. Don't tell yourself she's careless with your time. Be patient. Be observant. That is not her losing interest. That is her trying to regain control over feelings that feel bigger than she expected. This behavior is not about games. It's about inner tension. Every time she allows herself to lean in emotionally, fear shows up right behind it and pulls the brakes. Think of it like this: she steps closer, feels something real, then immediately feels exposed. So she retreats. That push and pull is her internal negotiation between desire and self-protection. You must time these cycles carefully. Ask yourself one simple question: does she pull away right after deep, meaningful conversations? Right after moments where things feel honest, calm, and emotionally connected? That is not coincidence. That is her emotional panic button lighting up. The moment feels too real, too intimate, too important. And importance scares people who weren't planning to feel this much. Here's where most men make the wrong move. They chase clarity, they ask questions, they demand reassurance. Don't do that. Be steady instead. Be calm. A high-value man doesn't react emotionally to emotional fluctuations. He notices, he adjusts, he stays grounded, and that grounded presence is exactly what keeps her coming back. Because here's the part that surprises most men. The stronger the connection feels to her, the harder she pulls away afterward. Read that again. The better the date, the deeper the conversation, the more she laughs, the colder she may seem afterward. If you shared an incredible evening and she disappears for 3 days, that is not rejection. That is her sitting alone, replaying everything, realizing how much it affected her, and trying to convince herself not to fall any further. And yet she always comes back, maybe after a day, maybe after a week. But she returns because feelings don't respond to distance the way logic does. They linger, they wait, they grow. This is where masculine energy matters. Not loud energy, not forceful energy, calm energy, stable energy. The kind that doesn't chase validation and doesn't punish silence. When you remain centered, you become the emotional anchor she doesn't even realize she's testing for. This is how you attract women without pressure. Consistency without neediness creates safety. Safety dissolves fear. Notice how the inconsistency never fully breaks the connection. Even when she goes quiet, she doesn't disappear forever. Even when she pulls back, she doesn't move on. That tells you everything you need to know. Her attention isn't inconsistent because she doesn't care. It's inconsistent because she cares more than she planned to, and that creates internal conflict. A high-value man understands that attraction mixed with fear produces hesitation, not distance. So don't confront her cycles emotionally. Be present without hovering. Be interested without pushing. That balance signals confidence. That confidence is felt, not explained. There's another detail most men miss. Her inconsistency usually follows emotional peaks, not emotional lows. She doesn't pull away after boring conversations. She pulls away after connection, after laughter, after vulnerability. That's your confirmation. If she truly didn't care, there would be no cycle, just indifference, just fading out. Instead, she oscillates. That oscillation is the sign. And the way you respond determines whether she eventually relaxes into the connection or keeps fighting herself. Don't punish her distance with coldness. Don't reward it with chasing. Be steady. That is the sweet spot. This is where masculine energy quietly does its work. It communicates, I'm here, but I'm not rattled. It says, I enjoy you, but I don't need to control the outcome. That emotional posture is rare, and rarity attracts women far more than intensity ever will. When she senses that your presence doesn't add pressure to her internal struggle, the struggle softens. She stops associating closeness with loss of control. That's when her attention becomes more consistent, not because you demanded it, but because she no longer feels the need to protect herself from it. So don't fear inconsistent attention when it follows genuine connection. Understand it. Use it as information, not as a verdict. You must stay grounded. You must stay composed. That is how a high-value man navigates emotional complexity. This is how to attract women who feel deeply but hesitate openly. And when your calm becomes familiar, her fear loses its grip. That's when the inconsistency fades, not all at once but gradually, as trust replaces tension and attraction finally gets permission to stay. If this hit home and you finally understand that her silence isn't rejection but fear, don't scroll past this moment. Be the man who stays calm when emotions run hot. Be the man who sees patterns instead of panicking at pauses. And if you agree, drop this comment right now to lock it in. I don't chase confusion. I stay grounded and let clarity come to me. Like this video, subscribe for more sharp psychology insights, and remind yourself every day. When attention fades after connection, it's not loss. It's proof you mattered. Sign 2. Body language and jealousy. When a woman wants you but is fighting her feelings, her body will always confess long before her words ever do. And this is a truth that men with experience learn through observation, not theory, because language can be edited, filtered, and controlled, but the body cannot lie under pressure. This is where a man with an iron mind separates himself from men who guess, chase, and misinterpret signals, because body language does not explain itself. It reveals itself. You will notice it when you are together and she cannot remain physically calm. She shifts her weight repeatedly. She plays with her hair without awareness. She crosses her arms, then uncrosses them, adjusts her posture again and again, as if her body is receiving two conflicting commands at the same time: move closer for connection or pull back for protection. That internal struggle manifests physically, every single time. She steps into your personal space without realizing it, then suddenly corrects herself and steps back. She touches your arm while laughing, then creates distance as if she caught herself breaking an internal rule. This push and pull is not confusion. It is discipline under strain. Desire is present, but restraint is working overtime. As Marcus Aurelius reminded us, nothing happens to any man that he is not formed by nature to bear, which means emotions will surface even when the mind attempts to suppress them, and they surface most clearly through unconscious movement. One gesture stands above all others as a quiet, unfiltered confession. When she touches her neck or collarbone while speaking to you, understand what you are seeing. That area of the body is exposed, sensitive, and instinctively protected. When a woman unconsciously touches it around you, she is signaling emotional vulnerability, whether she wants to admit it or not. Men grounded in old Stoic wisdom understand that attraction is rarely declared outright. It is leaked through instinct. It is revealed through small, unguarded behaviors, not dramatic statements or bold admissions. Then there is jealousy, subtle, polite, carefully disguised as curiosity. She asks about other women in a light tone, casually, as if it means nothing. Are you seeing anyone? What's your type? How was your weekend? These are not random questions. They are probes. They are tests, not to control you, but to determine whether it is safe to let her feelings exist. The real answer is not in what you say. It is in her face the moment you answer. If her expression changes, even for a fraction of a second, when you mention another woman, that micro-expression is pure truth. Jealousy does not announce itself loudly. It flashes, it disappears, and if you are paying attention, you know exactly where you stand. As Seneca said, we suffer more in imagination than in reality, and what she is imagining is loss, competition, and regret. She is imagining another woman taking the place she has not yet allowed herself to claim. This is where modern men often lose ground. They react emotionally. They rush to reassure. They explain too much. They seek clarity too soon. But Stoicism win does not come from reaction. It comes from composure, from understanding that attraction deepens when you remain steady, calm, and unmoved by uncertainty. A man who observes instead of reacts projects authority without force. In modern life, where attention is fragmented, validation is cheap, and emotional volatility is common, restraint has become rare, and rarity creates value. Your role is not to confront her feelings, not to pressure honesty, not to demand emotional declarations. Your role is to remain centered, grounded, and consistent. Confidence is silent. Certainty is quiet. Women fighting their feelings are watching closely to see whether you are stable enough to trust with them. As Epictetus taught, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. What you must be is composed, observant, patient, unshaken by ambiguity. This is iron mind behavior. This is Stoicism win in motion. You listen more than you speak. You notice patterns instead of chasing explanations. You allow time to reveal what pressure never will, and by doing so, you win without struggle. Mastery is not about forcing outcomes. It is about positioning yourself so outcomes align naturally. When you live this way, you gain clarity not only in relationships, but in life itself. You gain control over your reactions, authority over your presence, and peace within uncertainty. Old Stoic wisdom teaches us that the man who controls himself controls the situation. In love, in conflict, and in modern life, that truth remains undefeated. Sign 3, she gets meaner. Sign 3 is the one that confuses even experienced men. because it looks wrong on the surface and feels uncomfortable if you don't understand what's happening underneath. She gets meaner the more she likes you. Not cruel, not disrespectful. Don't twist it into something dark or unhealthy. This isn't about insults meant to harm or behavior meant to control. This is sharper teasing, smarter sarcasm, playful comments that land just close enough to the edge to make you stop and think. One moment she jokes about your confidence, the next she pokes holes in your ideas. She rolls her eyes when you speak, challenges your opinions, and acts like nothing you do quite meets her standards. Be clear about this. Indifference is quiet. Disinterest is lazy. What you're seeing instead is effort, tension, and emotional energy being spent. That is never accidental. This is where female psychology quietly reveals itself, and where most men either misread the moment or sabotage it entirely. What's happening is a psychological defense mechanism often called reaction formation. When a feeling is strong but inconvenient, the mind flips it into its opposite. Attraction becomes irritation. Curiosity becomes criticism. Desire becomes distance wrapped in humor. She didn't plan to like you. She didn't want to feel pulled in, so her mind builds a shield, and that shield sounds like sarcasm. Don't argue with it. Don't collapse under it. Don't chase approval. Be steady. That is the test. The sharper her teasing, the more likely it is that something meaningful is trying to surface beneath it. She's paying attention to you, even while pretending she's not impressed. She remembers details, even while acting dismissive. She reacts emotionally, even while claiming she doesn't care. Those contradictions are the signal. This is one of those psychology tricks that only makes sense when you stop taking everything at face value. Many men fail here because they personalize the behavior. Don't. Others try to overpower it with charm or logic. Don't do that either. Confidence doesn't argue. Confidence doesn't defend itself. Confidence observes, responds lightly, and stays grounded. Answer teasing with warmth. Meet sarcasm with calm humor or relaxed silence. Let her feel that her words don't shake your center. You must understand that emotional stability is deeply attractive, especially when someone is internally conflicted. This is female psychology in action, not a rejection, but a negotiation with herself. She's testing whether you'll crumble, lash out, or stay present. And when you do the last one, something shifts. The moment you show genuine vulnerability, not oversharing, not self-pity, but honest self-awareness, the dynamic often changes. You say something real without asking for validation. You admit a flaw without apologizing for your existence. You speak calmly about something that matters to you. Watch what happens. The teasing pauses. The sarcasm softens. Her tone changes. Her eyes settle. The wall drops, just briefly, but long enough for you to see the softer side she's been protecting. That moment is never accidental. It's relief. It's her realizing she doesn't have to fight so hard. This is why understanding psychology tricks matters more than memorizing lines or strategies. If you're trying to learn how to fall in love in a way that doesn't exhaust you, this is part of the path. Love isn't constant smoothness. It's navigating emotional tension without losing your balance. She's not trying to be difficult. She's trying to feel safe while feelings are growing faster than she expected. And the more you remain calm, respectful, and emotionally solid, the easier it becomes for her to stop hiding behind humor and edge. Don't try to win her over by proving yourself. Don't perform. Don't explain yourself into exhaustion. Be consistent. Be present. Be grounded. That is how attraction deepens without force. Female psychology responds to steadiness more than persuasion. When you understand how to fall in love without chasing, you stop reacting and start leading emotionally. These psychology tricks aren't about manipulation. They're about awareness. They teach you to read behavior without panic, to stay centered when tension appears, and to recognize when resistance is actually desire in disguise. Remember this: sarcasm often guards vulnerability, teasing often hides interest, and tension often precedes connection. Don't rush it, don't fear it, don't mislabel it. If she gets meaner, don't shut down. If she challenges you, don't attack back. Stay calm, stay kind, stay self-respecting. That is how you turn confusion into clarity, how you move closer without pressure, and how you learn how to fall in love in a way that feels natural, grounded, and real, using an understanding of female psychology that works with human nature instead of against it. If this opened your eyes, don't just scroll past it. Like the video, subscribe for more real-world psychology, and drop a comment to lock this lesson in your mind. Comment this below to remember it. When she teases more, she feels more, and calm confidence reveals the truth. Other hidden signs. There are other hidden signs most men overlook, not because they're invisible, but because they're quiet, subtle, and easy to misread if you don't know what you're looking for. One of the strongest is this: she remembers everything. Not the big obvious facts anyone could recall, but the small throwaway details you barely remember saying yourself. That random story you mentioned 3 weeks ago about your childhood dog. The food you casually said you can't stand. The personal goal you're working toward that you didn't frame as a big deal. She stores it all. That's not coincidence. That's chemistry. Her mind is quietly lighting up with dopamine every time you cross her thoughts. And dopamine doesn't just create pleasure, it locks memories in place. Don't underestimate that. People remember what matters. Be honest with yourself. If she brings up things you never thought she noticed, it's because you're already living rent-free in her head. That is not accidental. That is emotional investment forming beneath the surface. A high-value man doesn't chase attention. He notices patterns, and memory is one of the clearest patterns there is. Then there's the nervousness, the kind that slips out even when she's trying to look composed. Watch closely, not like a hunter, but like a calm observer. Her hands tell the story first. She touches her face more. She adjusts her clothes. She becomes suddenly aware of how she's sitting, how she's standing, how she's being seen. That's not insecurity. That's attraction trying to stay contained. Her body reacts before her mind gives permission. She may laugh a little too quickly, pause a beat too long, fidget, then stop herself. Don't call it out. Don't make a joke about it. Be steady, be grounded. When a woman feels drawn to a man who carries masculine energy, her body often responds before her logic catches up. That internal mismatch creates tension, and tension leaks through movement. You must understand this. Calm presence amplifies attraction, while neediness dissolves it. If you stay relaxed while she's slightly unsettled, you quietly become the emotional anchor in the room. That's how you attract women without trying to impress them. One of the most revealing moments happens when she mirrors you without realizing it. She leans when you lean, crosses her legs when you do, matches your pace, your tone, your rhythm. Mirroring is subconscious connection. It's the nervous system saying, I feel aligned here. But here's where it gets interesting. Sometimes she'll suddenly notice she's doing it and pull back. She straightens up, changes position, creates distance where there wasn't any seconds before. Don't misread that as rejection. Don't withdraw. That pullback is her conscious mind stepping in to regain control. Her subconscious already chose you. Her logic is just trying to catch up. This internal tug-of-war is common when attraction shows up faster than expectation. And this is where many men sabotage themselves by reacting too quickly. Don't. Be patient. Be consistent. A high-value man doesn't rush emotional outcomes. He allows them to unfold. All of these signs point to the same truth. She feels more than she's ready to admit. And the more she tries to manage it, the more her body and memory give her away. Don't confront her with it. Don't seek validation. Don't push for clarity before it's offered. That is how attraction collapses under pressure. Instead, stay centered in who you are. Speak clearly. Listen fully. Hold eye contact without forcing it. Let silence exist without filling it. This is masculine energy in its most effective form, not loud, not aggressive, but grounded and unshakable. When you show up this way, you don't just attract women, you create emotional safety. And emotional safety is what allows attraction to deepen instead of retreat. Understand this clearly. Attraction that is resisted often grows stronger, not weaker. When she's fighting her feelings, she's already invested. She's just negotiating with herself. Your job is not to persuade her. Your job is to remain solid while she resolves that internal conversation. Be present. Be respectful. Be unavailable to drama, but available to real connection. That balance is rare, and rarity is attractive. This is why men who embody high-value man traits don't need tricks, lines, or performances. Their consistency becomes the invitation. Their calm becomes the permission. Their masculine energy becomes the space where attraction can finally stop hiding. If you want to attract women at this stage of life, especially between 35 and 70, you must stop chasing intensity and start embodying steadiness. Passion fades when it's forced. It grows when it feels safe to exist. She remembers everything because you matter. She gets nervous because you move something inside her. She mirrors you because she feels aligned, then pulls back because she's trying to stay in control. None of that is accidental. All of it is information. Don't ignore it, don't rush it, respect it. That is how attraction matures instead of burning out. That is how a high-value man moves through connection with confidence, clarity, and quiet strength. What most men do wrong. Most men get this wrong because they react instead of lead. When a woman is clearly drawn to you but fighting her feelings, the instinct is either to press for answers or to disappear in wounded silence. Both choices quietly sabotage attraction. Pushing for clarity, demanding definitions, confessing everything at once, or asking her to explain herself feels honest, but it creates pressure. Pressure triggers self-protection. Walking away completely feels strong, but it gives her mind permission to downplay what she felt and rewrite the story in her favor. The real answer is neither force nor retreat. It is steadiness, psychological safety, quiet confidence in motion. When emotions clash inside her, she is watching not your words, but your nervous system, your pace, your self-control. This is where old Stoic wisdom becomes practical power in modern life. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That strength is what she feels when you don't chase, don't freeze, and don't flinch. You stay grounded. You stay present. You give her space without vanishing. You show interest without need. You move forward with your life whether she is certain or not. Certainty is not your job. Leadership is. Leadership today means emotional regulation in a distracted, anxious world. It means being the calm center when signals are mixed. It means showing up consistently even when her energy fluctuates. Consistency creates safety. Safety allows desire to breathe. This is how Stoicism win plays out in real relationships, not through cold distance, but through disciplined warmth, controlled vulnerability, self-respect in action. You share something real about yourself without unloading fears. You invite connection without asking for reassurance. You remain unfazed when she tests boundaries. Tests are not rejection, they are curiosity. A man with an iron mind understands that reactions reveal more than explanations ever could. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." What you have to do is live well, train your body, sharpen your skills, build your mission, protect your friendships. A full life is magnetic, not because it tries to impress, but because it signals abundance. When she sees that you are not waiting around, not anxiously checking, not emotionally thrown off course, something shifts. Her concern about losing you grows louder than her hesitation about getting close. That shift cannot be argued into existence. It must be felt over time. In modern dating, where attention is cheap and emotions are rushed, restraint stands out, patience stands out, self-direction stands out. This is old Stoic wisdom in motion. This is Stoicism win through behavior. This is an iron mind expressed without speeches or ultimatums. You are not trying to convince her. You are demonstrating stability. Stability is rare. Seneca warned, "He who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary." Most men suffer in advance. They imagine loss. They demand clarity. They rush the process. The wiser move is to stay steady, stay kind, stay busy, stay open. Let time do the filtering. Time exposes fear. Time reveals intention. Time rewards those who don't panic. This is not about manipulation. It is about self-mastery. Self-mastery is deeply masculine, deeply respected, deeply felt. You don't need to threaten distance. You don't need dramatic boundaries. You live them calmly, consistently, decisively, that calm decisiveness becomes the emotional anchor she didn't know she was looking for. In a world full of noise, silence used well is strength. In a world full of chasing, patience is power. In a world full of uncertainty, grounded presence is leadership. When you embody this daily, not just in romance but in work, health, and purpose, you don't just improve your chances with her, you improve your life. The real victory is not winning someone over. It is mastering yourself, mastering your reactions, mastering your direction. That is how men win today. That is how Stoicism win becomes reality. That is how old Stoic wisdom survives modern life. And that is how an iron mind turns confusion into clarity without ever asking for permission. Hey, my friend, thank you so much for staying with me until the very end of this video. I truly appreciate you taking the time to listen and reflect. If you're in this situation right now, there's one important truth you need to understand clearly. Feelings can't be forced, and the more you chase, the more you push her away. When you're always available, always waiting, always giving, her subconscious starts to believe you're not going anywhere. And as long as she believes that, she can keep fighting her feelings without any real consequence. But the moment you calmly pull back, stop chasing, and start living your own life, everything begins to shift. Not because you're playing games, but because you're finally respecting yourself. When your focus moves back to your purpose, your work, your growth, and your peace, her mind starts to register something uncomfortable. She could actually lose you. That's when the emotional switch flips, and the feelings she's been suppressing no longer stay quiet. My sincere advice to you is this: never trade your self-respect for a connection that keeps you stuck in uncertainty. The right person won't leave you guessing where you stand. When you stand firm in your value, you naturally become more attractive, and more importantly, you create a clear boundary. Choose me or lose me. Remember, you're not losing anyone. You're simply withdrawing your energy from someone who isn't ready to honor it. And that, my friend, is real strength. Thanks again for being here. If this message hit you on a deeper level, drop a comment below as a reminder to yourself that you deserve clarity, respect, and real love. And make sure to subscribe, because the next videos will help you understand psychology, emotions, and how to stay grounded in your value no matter what situation you're facing. Stay strong, stay calm, and always choose what's best for your life.